Welcome to this overview of good manufacturing practices focused on food safety. This is a training for new employees and volunteers joining the Community Food Bank of Southern Arizona. Our mission at the Community Food Bank is to change lives in the communities we serve by feeding the hungry today and building a healthy, hunger-free tomorrow. Because the Community Food Bank is committed to the safe distribution of food, staff and volunteers will follow good manufacturing practices and federal and local guidelines to keep food safe for human consumption. All staff, volunteers, visitors, and contractors will receive a copy of the company's warehouse rules before entering the warehouse. Staff and volunteers will be trained on the written food safety programs with a focus on the areas in which they work. This training will be reinforced for employees on a regular basis. Accountability means the management team will support the food safety programs, providing needed resources and establishing a supportive culture, ensuring employees follow the policies. The Community Food Bank is committed to transparency, sharing information on food safety issues across the Feeding America network and with regulators, clients, suppliers, and the public. We value the open engagement and learning that comes from an industry that works toward a common goal of public safety and well-being. Continual improvement means our food safety policies will be reviewed annually or as needed so they continue to reflect current legislative and regulatory requirements. Everyone completing this training will learn the basics of food safety, understand how important it is, and demonstrate this knowledge through self-evaluation. This training highlights personal habits and includes the 8 major food allergens and the issue of cross-contamination. The second section deals with the physical environment, including food defense and keeping the environment clean and safe. Understanding these key topics is important to help prevent situations which could lead to client illness and even death. In the warehouse, it is important to wear closed-toed shoes for safety reasons. Tank tops are not allowed, and gloves should be worn whenever you are handling any ready-to-eat food, including produce. To prevent contamination of food products, it is important to wash your hands at approved wash stations. Hands and arms should be scrubbed for 20 seconds. Wash before starting work, after using the restroom, after eating or drinking, after handling waste or raw food, and of course, after sneezing or coughing. Avoid handling food when you are sick or have an open wound. It is requested that you report to your supervisor when you have fever, diarrhea, vomiting, jaundice, sore throat with fever, infected cuts, wounds, or lesions on the hand, wrist, and exposed body part or other body part, and those cuts, wounds, or lesions are not properly covered. This includes boils and infected wounds, however small. In the warehouse, food and drink other than water can be consumed in designated areas only. Eating and drinking in areas where food is stored is not allowed because that can contaminate food and hands. The Community Food Bank is a smoke-free environment, so using any tobacco products, including e-cigarettes, is permitted only in the smoking areas located outside the facility. Store personal items in designated areas only. In the warehouse, please ask your supervisor for the approved location. Please don't walk, sit, or climb on finished product or product packaging. This is both a personal safety issue and a food safety issue. In addition, no food may be taken from the warehouse for personal consumption. Food defense is the term used by regulators to include actions to protect the nation's food supply from deliberate or intentional contamination or tampering. Be very cautious when sorting food that appears to have been tampered with. People entering the warehouse must wear a name badge. Be aware of the presence of any unauthorized people in the warehouse. If you notice any individual not wearing an approved badge, please notify your supervisor or the front desk receptionist. For employee safety as well as food safety, it is important to follow certain rules in the warehouse. Doors and windows should only be opened during active loading and unloading in order to prevent rodent and pest infestation. In case of chemical spills or accidents, please refer to the safety data sheets for treatment. Check with your supervisor for the location of these sheets. If you notice any evidence of insects or pests, please notify your supervisor immediately. Because of possible contamination from allergens, it is important to use proper color-coded tools for cleaning specific types of spills. The color-coded tools for cleaning are gold for general cleaning, blue for allergens, including milk and egg spills, red for any broken glass. Black mops and brooms are used by an outside company that cleans our restrooms. Please do not use these for any reason. Tools should be cleaned after each use. A supervisor should oversee any cleanup involving allergens to ensure there is no cross-contact. Severe food allergies can be life-threatening. It is important to know the big 8 allergens and to understand how important it is to prevent cross-contact. Following ingestion of a food allergen, a person with a food allergy can experience a severe, life-threatening allergic reaction called anaphylaxis. This can lead to constricted airways in the lungs, severe lowering of blood pressure and shock, anaphylactic shock, even suffocation by swelling of the throat. People can be allergic to one food but not another, for example, peanuts but not tree nuts. Common allergens like milk, eggs, and fish must be stored in separate locations. To ensure appropriate use and to avoid the risk of exposure to food product, all chemicals that are brought into the facility require prior authorization from the Director of Facilities. For convenience and proper tracking, a core group of chemicals has been pre-approved and can be ordered from the Facilities Department. These include items like all-purpose surface and glass cleaner, floor cleaner, disinfectant, and sanitizer. To order new products that are not currently available, submit a ticket to the Facilities Department identifying the needed item and how it will be used to maintenance@communityfoodbank.org. The approval process will also trigger the printing of a safety data sheet that will be filed and the product can be ordered. Changing the flavor, scent, or composition of a product will require a new safety data sheet. If you are reordering a pre-approved item, it must be identical. You cannot change the hand soap from lavender to lemon without needing a new safety data sheet. Use only approved chemicals in the facility and be sure to always store them safely. Chemicals must be stored securely, away from food. All chemicals are required to have a safety data sheet that is on file and accessible to staff. Please ask your supervisor where to find the safety data sheets in your facility. When a chemical is no longer being used, facilities also needs to be informed. All safety data sheets are archived and noted when an item has stopped being used. OSHA requires the safety data sheet be kept on site for 30 years after a chemical is no longer used. Pictograms, signal words, hazard statements, and precautionary statements are used to convey facts about a hazard, including the nature of it and the level of severity. Precautionary statements recommend the measure to be taken to prevent adverse effects. There are 9 pictograms under the global system used to convey health, physical, and environmental hazards. The final hazard communication standard requires 8 of these pictograms, with the exception being the environmental pictogram. Environmental hazards are not within OSHA's jurisdiction. The hazard pictograms and their corresponding hazards are shown on this slide. Under the revised hazard communication standard, pictograms must have red borders. OSHA believes that the use of the red frame will increase recognition and understanding. Therefore, the red frame is required regardless of whether the shipment is domestic or international. Any employee of the Community Food Bank can access the online Safety Data Sheet Management System. Go to communityfoodbank.kha.com. Select the drop-down menu for your work location. When you find the chemical you are looking for, click on the corresponding link to the chemical name. The safety data sheet information will include physical and chemical properties, first aid measures, required personal protective equipment, and more. There are 16 sections under the revised Hazard Communication Standard, from proper handling and storage to transport and regulatory information. Each chemical is required to have these 16 sections identified. This completes the Good Manufacturing Practices training. Thank you for your attention.